Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, April 3rd West Fargo City Commission meeting. Before we start this evening, I'd ask everyone in the room to please silence their cell phones except the emergency personnel. I'd also like to welcome this evening Commissioner Simmons and Commissioner Anderson are joining us via Zoom. With that, we call the meeting to order. Please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business is to approve the order of the agenda. I would call to the attention to commissioners that on their regular agenda, item number 13 has been withdrawn. So we have no 13 this evening. It has been withdrawn.
I'll move with that amendment to the agenda.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. It's been moved to approve the agenda with the amendment of removing item number 13. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda with the amendment of removing item number 13. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item D is the approval of the minutes of March 20th, 2023. They have been distributed. They are on pages 20 through 23 in the packet.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of March 20, 2023, pages 3 through 5 as distributed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item E is the building permits. They have been distributed and is on pages 6 through 9 in your packet.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the building permits as distributed. It is on pages 6 through 9 in the packet. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Next order of business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is items A through D. It's on pages 10 through 49.
Make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as distributed, starting on pages 10, ending on pages 49. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to the regular agenda. Item number 1 is a request for approval of attended actions by the library board and staff in the event of House Bill 1205 and Senate Bill 2360 becoming law. Betty Adams, the library director, it's on pages 50 to 67 in the packet. And Betty is joining us via Zoom this evening, is my understanding?
Yes, I am.
All right. Welcome, Betty. It's nice to have you with us.
Thank you very much for having me, commissioners and mayor. Let me know when I'm ready to go.
Please proceed.
All righty. Thank you again for having me, especially via Zoom. It's greatly appreciated. So this is one to give you guys an update of what is occurring in the library world. It's under unfortunate circumstances that I present this to you today. However, I'm hoping for the commission's approval of, by vote, of just approving the actions that we are intending to take if House Bill 1205 and Senate Bill 2360 do in fact become law. We've been monitoring both closely as well as the adjustments that have been made. So you have the most up-to-date versions in your packet. I'll read through the summary only, just so that way anyone who hasn't had the chance has the opportunity to understand and then ask questions about what I have presented. House Bill 1205 and Senate Bill 2360 greatly impact the current scope of service the West Fargo Public Library provides to our community. These bills intend to redefine the current Century Code, Section 12.1-27.1, pertaining to obscenity. Specifically, House Bill 1205 has passed both the House and Senate and is now to be decided by the governor. The library has until August to be in compliance with it if it does become law. The crucial part of House Bill 1205 is, that greatly impacts the library in all areas of service is page 1, lines 22 through 24, section 1.3-B, where it states library collections must ensure conformance with the requirement to develop a book collection that is appropriate for the age and maturity levels of the individuals who may access the materials in which is suitable for and consistent with the purpose of the library. The bolded areas, which I put emphasis on in the speaking, are crucial in the wording as they impact the full functionality of the current library, as all materials are currently accessible to the full public given that we are a public space. I did provide some examples of service limitations and options the library would need to determine in the event of each becoming law, including removal of access to digital collections, which is a conversation currently happening within libraries, including digital apps such as Hoopla and Libby, our research databases, and our shared databases with the state library and even Library of Congress we would not be able to access from the library. Adult and young adult driven collections would require physical barriers or full reduction in material availability. This would require additional staff to check IDs for verification of age to enter certain areas of the library. Parents and guardians would be in violation of our unattended children's policy if youth are brought into the library at the same time that a parent would like to search the adult specific collections. It also takes away a parent's right to oversee their own minor child's reading and their levels of reading and comprehension. Interlibrary loan of materials between states would no longer exist, and that is something that we benefit greatly from, and it keeps our costs down. All age events and restroom access would require staff to escort patrons to the youth designated areas, as well as to the restrooms every time that anyone would need them, given where the location of the restrooms are. And this would need to happen to make sure that there is no potential inappropriate age and maturity level of materials being accessible by any minor. The children would be restricted from searching the catalog, as well as the catalog may not even be able to be published publicly for public use. So that way we are not in violation of imagery that may be on a cover or in the language used to define the material in the catalog, given the content of the material that may be in the library, whether that be artistic or biological or scientific in that sense. We could potentially be breaking the law by just having our catalog available to the public. Free Book Fridays is something that I initiated since I started here, and it has gone over very well. Over 2,000 materials have been taken from it. However, unfortunately, that service would immediately cease, as well as our book sales, which we just started again, would both need to be required to be 18 plus, with no children allowed to attend either of those opportunities for advancement in their literary functionality as a community. We would also it would require the building to close to assess and move full collections to secure areas based on age and maturity access. This includes the audiobooks, large print, DVDs, and computers. Majority of those collections actually just got re-established to new homes that are more patron friendly, such as large print being set on the first floor of the library. We would then have to reset them back on the second floor of the library, so they are not accessible if this does become a law. I just want to specify that if this language is interpreted to its logical end, all collections throughout the library would need to be downgraded to that of the most minor of citizens and their maturity levels in order for the full space and collection to remain defined and available to the public. The restrictions above remove the public portion of the library by limiting access and requiring identification to be presented for usage and access. Each individual violation of these new bills would result in a Class B misdemeanor charge against library staff, which includes a prison sentence of up to 30 days and/or a fine of up to $1,500 for each infraction. A Class B misdemeanor in North Dakota cannot be expunged from a record. I did not include it in this language, but I do want to also specify that the bills do not state that these claims of obscene materials are required to be submitted by people within the state of North Dakota, let alone the community of North Dakotans. So anyone from any part of the world could make a claim against it, the obscenity law, and make it to where they are no longer available. That's part of the catalog question, is having availability in that sense. And give me 1 second. I apologize. I have a 2-year-old who needs attention. Thank you. I apologize. I'm the parent on duty. Considerations the library will evaluate in order to remain compliant. Staff, we would only be able to staff 18 plus staffers because our materials, if we cut everything, would be in violation of allowing minors to even work at the library. So we would have 18 plus staff who would pull requests for patrons on patrons' behalf. Again, with the catalog not being searchable, it would be staff who would be searching on behalf of requests that are being made blindly by the community. We can potentially do times of restricted access for designated age groups to age-appropriate collections, and programming would also need to be restricted in this same manner. We can also potentially partner with Minnesota for directing community members to full access of public library services that they're used to if this does become law. It is not that we want to send people there, but for the interim, there's no way around it. We would need a lot of reevaluation of our policies and our procedures. And I want to specify that we do have policies currently in place, including a request for reconsideration form that the public is available. It is available to the public on our website under our policies tab, pertaining to our collection development, how we select materials and how we get them into each area of the collection, as well as are open to feedback from the community. We have not received any request for reconsideration forms in over 5 years that we have documented. So those are just a couple of the points that I would like for you to be aware of. It is the library board's decision then at their last meeting that if the bills become law, they will join the growing list of North Dakota communities in taking legal action in an effort to overturn the ruling, and have allowed staff to be represented by a pro bono law firm that has reached out in support of our defending of the First Amendment, essentially. So today I request that the commission vote to support the potential actions of the board and staff to continue to provide the wide range of public services and accessibility to all forms of information that we currently do provide to our community. And I'm open for any questions.
Thank you, Mrs. Adams. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner George, you serve on the library board representing the commission. Do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
No, I just agree with everything that Mrs. Adams said. She's spot on. I agree with her. As part of the library board, we unanimously voted against those bills. I think they're absolutely terrible for accessibility and for libraries in general, and I am wholly against it. So I'd like to make that motion to support what Betty said.
Could I ask you refrain just for a minute?
Sure, yep.
Mr. Shockley, may I ask a question? the way that the library board is funded by a mill levy and the like, they're requesting the commission to support this. Is there any precedence or anything that we should be concerned about here?
No, actually, the library board is following the proper protocol and requesting that the city commission as a governing body support the action.
All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Shockley. All right, commissioners, any additional comments, questions of Mrs. Adams? Commissioner George,
I'll make a motion to support the motion that Betty described.
is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to support the board's decision to join a list of North Dakota communities and taking legal action in the effort to overturn the ruling of Senate Bill, or House Bill, 1205. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Adams. We appreciate
Thank
your
you very
time
much.
this evening. Item number 2 is the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. Mr. Aaron Nelson, Planning and Zoning Director for the City of West Fargo, and it's the approval of a program renewal with Gate City Bank. It has been distributed in your packet. It's on pages 68 through 69. Good evening,
Good evening.
Mr. Nelson, and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, President Dardis and Commissioners. Item 2, as was mentioned, is this year's annual renewal of the city's Neighborhood Revitalization Program, which is a partnership with Gate City Bank to provide low-interest loans for select home improvement projects within the city of West Fargo. The Neighborhood Revitalization Program has been in place annually since 2019, and generally we have seen increasing interest over the years, with last year seeing 12 projects utilizing the program, totaling just a little over $412,000 in improvements. The recommended action tonight is to reapprove the program for 2023 by directing staff to continue to partner with Gate City Bank to promote and administer this program. But before we get to that, I do want to turn things over for a moment. With us tonight, we have Brandy Hogan with Gate City Bank, who would like to address the commission and speak a couple points regarding this year's program. So with that, I'll invite them up to introduce themselves, and I do believe they have something they'd like to hand over to the city and look for a photo opportunity as well.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Good evening and welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having us again this year. I'm so happy to continue our partnership with the City of West Fargo. My name is Brandy Haugen, Retail Manager in Fargo, and I have a couple team members here with me. I'll let them introduce themselves and their roles at the bank.
My name is Josh McAllister, Senior Personal Loan Officer at West Fargo. I'm the loan officer that handles most of the loans that come through.
My name is Arain Ahmad, and I'm the retail manager of the West Fargo branches as well.
Just want to open it up for questions to see if you have any questions for us. I know Aaron covered a lot of the details of the program, and just wanted to see what you guys have for us today.
Well, we're very grateful for Gate City Bank and their engagement in our community, and to have the type of response that we have had, $412,130 of improvements in our community, and it's a great program. I hope that the public continues to utilize it, and we're just very, very grateful to Gate City Bank for being a partner with us.
Yes, we are so grateful for that partnership too. I know we've seen a really great increase over this last year, especially the best year we've ever had when it comes to number of inquiries for the program. Josh is already receiving phone calls in the program for this year, so that is really great to see. I know with where interest rates are, people are more likely to stay in their homes and make repairs, and the program offers a great interest rate to our community members to improve their homes and stay in the city of West Fargo. So we're very thankful for that, and it's been fun to see the program take off. So
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So all we're doing is we have to approve the program renewal, commissioners. That's what we're looking for.
I'll make a motion to renew the program.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the renewal program with Gate City Bank. as presented this evening. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Awesome.
We're
We
going to
have
take we're going to take a quick break and join you out front.
I know, our social media team. We gotta get a good pic. All right. I'll let you guys get in.
You guys kind of angle your bodies forward to me. Angle this way? Got it.
Awesome. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Always appreciate you guys willing to take a photo with us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The next order of business is item number 3. It's Lisa Sankey, planner for the city of West Fargo, approval of final plat and condition use permit. It's on pages 70 to 87 in the packet. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. This application was received in order to replat previously subdivided lots and vacate right-of-way for development of real estate zone property in the city's extraterritorial area about a mile north of West Fargo city limits. The applicant owns 4 lots on the south side of 19th Avenue Northwest, west of County Road Highway 17 North, and proposes subdividing their property along with 2 lots to the west, which are owned by Cass County, into 2 lots for development of proposed Lot 2. Proposed Lot 1 is a Cass County flood property and is undevelopable. The applicant has also submitted an application for conditional use permit for the purpose of building a 4,000 square foot building for a private, non-commercial recreational building. The applicant has submitted a narrative describing the proposed use, indicating he has 4 young children and would like to utilize the site for youth activities, leisure hobbies, and storage of personal items for recreational purposes. This is a private recreational facility not open to the public. The applicant has indicated the proposed structure will be comparable in terms of building materials and other buildings in the area. On January 10th, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that the city approve the final plat and conditional use permit on the basis it is consistent with city plans and ordinances, with recommended conditions of approval as listed in the agenda packet. I'm available to answer any questions, as is the applicant.
Thank you, Mrs. Sankey. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this item? Item number 3.
Well, I've read through all the comments, emails, all that stuff. Which direction will this be situated on the lot? Is it going to be with the doors opening to 19th Avenue, or
I
how is
will
it?
defer to the applicant to answer those questions.
Good evening and welcome. Would you please state your name and address?
Sure, yes, Ben Saki, 3698 North Sedona Court, West Fargo. Mr. Olson, to address your question, the building orientation would have one overhead door, and that will be facing eastward.
A lot of this layout and orientation has to do with the accessibility to the building. Initial plans were to have access off of 19th Avenue North, which is a township road. That's no longer available or a viable option, so I'm going to access the building from, I think, 16th Avenue coming up to the north. So.
You'd be coming up from the south heading north.
Yes, heading north, yes, correct.
Any additional questions, commissioners? Mr. Saki? Thank you, sir. Any additional questions of Mrs. Sankey?
I have,
Please, Commissioner Olson.
I'm just curious, with the diversion coming in play here, this will likely be within city limits within 10-plus years.
Possibly.
Or less. How will this fit into with the rest of the areas and things like that? Just curious, because now we've set a precedence. If it becomes, do we just grandfather it in, or is it now up to, we can go up to 4,000 square feet for every outbuilding and things like that?
With the type of building, it'd be a little more easy to remove should development occur. If you would, build a single-family dwelling, which is allowed by right, there'd be, utilities, there'd probably be a basement, and a bit more cost involved with that. So this is probably a little more palatable.
Okay. Just something to think about, because
Certainly.
it'll be here before we know it.
Any additional questions? Commissioners? What's your pleasure? They're looking for the approval of the final plat and a conditional use permit.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson, I believe, seconds. Have been moved and seconded to approve the final plat and conditional use permit for the Saki subdivision for a 4,000 square foot building. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries on a 4-1 vote. Thank you, Ms. Sankey. Item number 4, you have that one too. Our planner from the city of West Fargo, Lisa Sankey, will talk about Suket's 6th edition. Approval of deed and final plat. It's on pages 88 to 97 in the packet. Please.
Thank you. This application was received in order to replat to consolidate existing lots into one for redevelopment of the former Bell Bank property for a drinking establishment. In preparation of the Cheyenne Street reconstruction, a 20-foot strip of land was originally deeded to the city of West Fargo along the west portion of the property. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the site. As such, the city of West Fargo is giving back the 4 feet which weren't used for the Cheyenne reconstruction project, and the remaining 16 feet would be retained by the city and dedicated as public right-of-way. The plat will be accompanied by a deed to convey the roughly 4 feet back to the owner. It is recommended that the city approve the deed and the final plat on the basis it is consistent with city plans and ordinances. I'm available to answer any questions, as is the applicant.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Ms. Sankey or the owner?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the deed and the final plat for Suket's 6th edition as presented this evening by Ms. Sankey. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5 is the Downtown Master Plan. Mr. Aaron Nelson, Planning Director, City of West Fargo. Approval of a project contract. It's on pages 98 through 120 in the packet. Welcome back.
Thank you. So item number 5 is a request to approve the contract with Bolton & Mink for the Downtown Master Plan project. Bolton & Mink was identified by the City Selection Committee as the best firm to lead this project through a competitive request for proposals process over the past couple of months upon review of the 13 proposals received. The project overall is intended to advance the city's goal of establishing downtown as a cultural center for West Fargo, which is one of the 8 big ideas outlined within the city's comprehensive plan. The project has a not-to-exceed cost of $150,000, which will be primarily funded through the city's recent $100,000 placemaking planning grant award that was awarded to the city at the end of 2022, with the remainder funded by professional service funds allocated within the 2023 Planning Department budget. Included in your meeting packet is the detailed project scope of work as Exhibit A to the contract attached. The project includes a robust public and stakeholder engagement component throughout the life of the project. It will primarily focus on placemaking, business development, parking, and future growth of the downtown area. The project will take place through the remainder of 2023, kicking off in May with substantial project completion by this fall based on some of our grant deadline requirements. So again, the request tonight is to approve the project contract with Bolton & Mink. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have for me.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Are there any questions? I'd call on Commissioner Anderson or Commissioner George that sat on this committee for any comments that they might have. Commissioner George?
No, I'll just say there was a lot of interest in this project. I mean, we had 13 people send in RFPs, which I thought was really great. We had some great finalists that we interviewed. Bolton & Mank definitely rose to the top for me. They were my top applicant. I love their concept, their ideas. I just think they could do great things to help assist us with our downtown master plan. So.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Commissioner Anderson, anything?
Yeah, I would just echo what Commissioner George just said. We had a lot of applicants that we worked through, and Bolton & Mink was one that stood out quite a bit for me as well. So, yeah.
Very good. Okay, we're looking for approval of the project and the dollar amounts. Again, would you repeat those, please, Mr. Nelson?
Yep, so the project has a not-to-exceed cost of $150,000.
And the placemaking grant covers 100,000 of that?
Yep, we have a $100,000 placemaking planning grant.
I just want to make sure that the public understands. Okay, very good.
And then the remainder would be funded through budgeted 2023 funds from the planning department budget.
All right, very good, sir. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the project contract for $150,000 not to exceed from Bolton & Mintz as presented this evening. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries on a 4-1 vote. Item number 6 is a request to create Community Service Officer Tuition Reimbursement Program. We're going to call on Dennis Otterness, the Chief of Police for the City of West Fargo, and he's looking for commission approval of an expenditure. It's on pages 121 through 127 of the packet. Good evening, Chief. Welcome.
Good evening, Commission President Dardis and members of the Commission. Try to get to the correct page here. Doesn't like that way, so we'll do it this way.
Page 121, Chief.
Oh. Oops. Got it? Okay, thanks. So the proposal tonight that I was asking you to consider is based on our Community Service Officer program that we revamped back in 2021. I was before you requesting permission to convert our one full-time community service officer into a multiple part-time positions to try to capture some of our local college-age students, bring them on board in a part-time status, Those folks that are actively enrolled in or are participating in criminal justice programs and might have an interest in a criminal justice career or police officer career. So the idea was to, again, to bring them in on a part-time basis, expose them to some of the challenges and the culture of our agency. We've been very successful over the last 2 years with that program. We currently have 8 part-time community service officers that are working for us, all currently enrolled or graduating or will graduate this spring with bachelor's degrees from local universities. So pretty exciting to see some of the youth that are coming up through some of these programs, and really what we've kind of sold this program as is a kind of a grow your own talent pool from internally from within the city of West Fargo, as we we're not immune to some of the challenges that have been going on a national level for recruiting and retaining police officers. So I anticipate we have Lake Region State College is coming in May with our police officer training program, and that will start here again in May, graduate some folks in August. And what I'm asking the commission to approve tonight would be a scholarship program or a tuition reimbursement program for some of our currently eligible community service officers that intend to enroll in the Peace Officer Training Program here in the city of West Fargo. They will be eligible to stay on board with us part-time as a community service officer while they go through the academy, if you will, from May till August. I've worked with our city attorney, John Shockley, to prepare a contract basically that breaks down some stages for reimbursement if those that are eligible for this program and accept this contract don't either make it through the program, don't pass the peace officer standards and training test that's required to become licensed to be a peace officer in this state. And then there's some other requirements along the way, up to and including 3 years of service. So if someone were to go into this, accept this contract for us to reimburse their tuition, they would have to stay on board with the city of West Fargo for up to 3 years to get 100% of that funding. And so we're fortunate to be able to be partnering with Lake Region again. They have discounted the amount of the tuition because they're holding the program here at the city of West Fargo. What would typically be a $6,000 tuition bill has been reduced by 50% for anybody that they call it sponsoring, or somebody that would be coming through as a conditionally offered employee of the city of West Fargo. So that's the other piece, is that prior to starting, they would have to, these CSOs that are eligible to start in this program or take part in this program would have to compete for the dollars that would be available. And so we would run a hiring process. They'd have to go through a panel. They'll have to go through all the same steps to get a conditional offer that anybody would, whether they're a lateral officer coming from another agency or somebody coming in that's already been through a peace officer training program or an equivalent from another state. So with that, I'm asking the commission to approve up to $6,000 of currently budgeted funds. I did a little bit of research through our office manager, Chris Davidson, and year to date, because of the open positions that we have that you granted us in January, as of January, the 5 additional sworn officers, because those positions haven't been filled completely yet, we're currently at $111,000 estimated of salary savings. So we've certainly got the money internally within the police department budget, so I'm not asking for a budget adjustment or any additional money from the commission tonight. We could absorb that $6,000 to offer 2 scholarships internally within the police department. And so that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Chief Otterness. Commissioners, any questions? I'd like to call on Commissioner Simmons as our Police and Fire Commissioner. Commissioner Simmons, do you have any comments?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor. I did meet with Chief Otterness. We discussed this. I think personally, the proof, I guess, is what we did a couple weeks ago. All our officers obviously are great, but the 3 from West Fargo, the homeboys we'll call them. This just goes to show you that this is what we need, and I think it'll really work. So I think it's an excellent opportunity to keep our young families in West Fargo even more.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons.
Having said that, if nobody does have anything to say, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the expenditure of a community service officer tuition reimbursement program as presented by Chief Auditor this evening. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 7 is a request to approve a Youth Works MOU. Again, we're going to call on Chief Auditor, and it's looking for a commission approval of a 2023 Youth Works MOU.
Thank you again, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. Real briefly, this is the first year that the City of West Fargo has entered into a memorandum of understanding with Youth Works. Youth Works has been a longtime community partner providing services for children in need of services or children in need of protection. Oftentimes, after hours, if you will, we have incidents that involve minors that are in need of some sort of temporary placement, either for a multitude of different reasons. They could be endangered, they could be committing low-level crimes, they could be runaways. There's a number of different reasons why we have to shelter these youth. And Youth Works, again, been a long-time community partner providing that 24/7 service for us. So what happened over the course of the last couple of years is we started to look into some of the programming needs that both we need here in the City of West Fargo, the City of Fargo, and Cass County, and trying to figure out a way that made it equitable for all the different agencies that were paying in for these services. So before, there was never a formula, there was never an MOU. We budgeted money within our police department budget that we thought would help cover our portion. And as it turned out, we were paying, we were paying a little bit more than our neighbors to the east with a little bit of a discrepancy in usage. So what we did is we asked Youth Works and Cass County to come up with this memorandum of understanding. And basically what they've come up with is a formula that takes into account MetroCog, population numbers, and then usage numbers. And there's a formula that was put together. And basically, at the end of the day, they came up with the City of West Fargo for 2023. This is a MOU that will run retroactively back to January 1 and expire December 31st, and then we will do this yearly. But what this will do is increase our cost by $5,000. So we had budgeted $30,000 for 2023 that you approved. With this new formula in place, they've asked that we chip in $35,000 rather than $30,000. And so what I'm asking the commission for is approval to either increase the police department's budget by $5,000, or I'll take your direction on where we find these funds. But this is absolutely a service that we need. It's vitally important to our communities collectively in the region. And so one way or another, commission approval to pay that $35,000 for fiscal year or calendar year 23. And I'll stand for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the Chief? Please, Commissioner George.
You had mentioned that you had an overage with salaries that you, could it come out of that fund? Instead of taking it out of general fund or whatever?
I'd ask for a recommendation from Mr. Scott. Do you have any thoughts on that, sir?
Well, thank you, Commissioners. Having not put a lot of thought into that, I guess I don't want to be overextending myself. I'd probably defer back to the Chief on his thoughts there. If it's a question I'm taking from the general fund, I would imagine we can afford it. But again, I'll defer to the Chief on using the salaries.
I certainly anticipate that we're going to be You know, I hate to stand before you at the beginning of April and assure you that we will be under budget at the end of the year, but because we've got all these unfilled positions currently, I certainly expect that there will be some positive budget numbers coming from the police department, and we will be under budget. And so I don't believe that absorbing that extra $5,000 is a huge ask of the police department. I just wanted to defer to the commission how you wanted to do it, if you wanted to do a budget adjustment or just have us absorb that internally in the police department.
And we're grateful for you asking of that, Chief. Thank you. So,
I mean, I'm open to what everybody else thinks. I just thought I'd bring that up since you had mentioned there was an overage there.
excellent point.
Mayor,
Please, Commissioner Simmons.
thank you. I think my recommendation, if it's worth hastening this year, would just be to leave it with the police department, then we'll go through when we do the budget next year. And then determine his budget, add that money at that time. I don't think we want to, we'll certainly do a budget amendment or anything like that for $5,000, so.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Commissioners?
So what, I just want to make sure I heard that Commissioner Simmons does not want to do a budget amendment and just have it absorbed by the.
That's what my understanding was, yes, sir.
Well,
Okay.
I just want to make
Well,
sure
yeah,
I heard it right.
Yeah,
Commissioner
Mayor or Commissioner Olson. Yeah, if the chief's okay with that, I don't think we should do a budget amendment for $5,000. That's kind of waste of paperwork. I think that we just, remember this when the budget time comes next year, and we just make sure we add this in. That's all I'm saying for that. We can make up for it.
Yes, sir. Correct. We're all on the same understanding. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons and Commissioner Olson, for the question. What's your pleasure?
I would make the motion to approve the MOU.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Have been moved and seconded to approve the 2023 Youth Works MOU, which is $35,000 this year.
So
Is there any further discussion?
that make sure that that motion also increases the fund, our obligation by $5,000.
Correct. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Yes.
Correct. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Yes.
Originally, it was $30,000. It's increasing it to $35,000, a $5,000 increase. And there is not a budget amendment to this. It'll be handled internally within the department with some of the funds that they have. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is the spring melt preparations, an emergency declaration. We're going to hear from Pierre Freeman, our emergency manager for the city of West Fargo. His report is on page 139, and we'll also hear from Mr. Matt Andrick, the Director of Public Works, on an operational report. Good evening, Mr. Freeman, and welcome.
Good evening, President Dardison, Commissioners. I'm your emergency manager, and I'm here to present to you today the declaration, or emergency declaration for flooding. We're doing this out of an abundance of caution for any spring melt that we have and any other future rain or weather or other melt that we have coming up. We generally do this to loosen up, so to speak, some funds, or at least loosen up the processes. It's the first initial step that we take in order to do any other preparations that we do. I'm going to let Matt Anvig talk about what the preparations are, and then I'll have any other questions for you as well.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Andrick. Welcome.
Good evening, Commission President, Commissioners. Right now, we're just kind of just normal spring preparations for that. So kind of where we stand right now, Bald Hill Dam has been preparing for this. They've been kind of drawing down that, I guess the Lake Ashtabula there in preparing for the spring melt. So they have plenty of reserves waiting for this right now. Everybody's kind of watching that storm that's predicted for tomorrow and the next few days, and that might change some predictions a little bit, but we're kind of, right now, we're just in a waiting pattern with that, watching to see what we get there. After that, we're kind of have a favorable forecast, for the next few days after that, where we have decent temperatures in the day and then freezing at night, so we can try and get that hopefully controlled melt for a little while. The county we've been in contact with them and coordinating with them. They're gonna plan on opening a sandbag site, probably next Tuesday, at their operations center on West Spain there in West Fargo. We'll have some employees out there helping fill sandbags, and I know the county has been in contact with the school system to help fill that as well. We expect, the diversion to be in full operation this spring. And then we also anticipate that the Cheyenne River south of the interstate is going to be running at peak capacity within the channel through town. So those are just items that we'll watch as we move forward. Right now, our crews have been, you might have seen them out yesterday with the nice weather. We had probably about 3 or 4 crews out trying to get all the catch basins opened up. We had payloaders and different crews out there steaming, trying to get any of the water that was melting yesterday opened up so it can flow to the Cheyenne River already, just so we get in anticipation of this heavy wet snow coming, that we can as soon as that melts, it gets out of here as fast as we can get there before we start getting that heavy or meltwater coming down the Cheyenne. So we can just continue to do that. We're ensuring the diversion gates are operational, testing equipment, our pumps, generators, basically getting everything ready to go and stationed where we're going to be needing them in the next few weeks. And then really for looking for the residents, I know April 15th is coming up fairly soon, in a couple of weeks, and where we've been saying about having the sump pumps discharge outside. We know with the snowpack right now, sometimes that isn't available to happen at certain homes. We are encouraging residents to do so as much as possible, just that it helps lessen the stress on our system if they can pump that outside. But we also know that due to the conditions, that might not be possible for everyone to do that. Property owners are encouraged to just, keep their drains clean in front of their houses at possible. And if you see any ice jams, anything like that along the Cheyenne River, to notify either Public Works or dispatch. And so right now we're just having everything in place, but we're just keeping an eye to the sky, watching what we have and all the melt goes in the next few weeks.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Freeman or Mr. Anvick? Commissioner Olson?
Well, I have a comment on what Mr. Freeman said. He said, if we have a snow melt, or a melt, he said if, a snow. I'm hoping I hope we do have a melt someday. So that was my only comment about the FPR. You said if we have a melt. Right.
Anyone else? Commissioner Olson?
Then with the impending storm, and if all predictions are right, should we be considering a snow emergency where we make an announcement where people keep their vehicles off the streets and things like that on the snow emergency routes?
We've had some conversations on that right now. It's all depending on where it's going to be. It's really hard to tell right now where we're going to be at because of the wind. Are we going to get that? What are going to be the temperatures? I know they're talking maybe 32, 33 degrees tomorrow afternoon while it's snowing. And how are we going to see that? Is that going to melt on the roads as it's going? And, the accumulation, we're not sure where we're going to be at just yet.
Right.
I had some conversations with our counterparts in Fargo today too and see where they were at. Didn't sound like they were doing anything of the sort as of right now. It changes hourly right now, so we'll see.
We just have to be in a rigid state of flexibility.
Correct.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions of Mr. Freeman or Mr. Anvick? Just for a point of information, today Senator Hoban was in town, and we had a joint meeting with Cass County, City of Fargo, City of West Fargo. Police Chief Dennis Otternis was there, Sheriff Jesse Johnner was there, Dustin Scott from the City of West Fargo, Melissa Richard from the City of West Fargo in Communications. Mr. Anvick was there. Let's see, am I missing anybody? And myself. And we had a discussion. We had the National Weather Service was in there, and he was giving us a forecast of what he believes that our communities are going to be receiving in the next couple of days. And as far as the flood and the melt, as Mr. Freeman was talking about, it's all contingent about that as to, how we're going to print out. But the good news is that we have extremely talented personnel that have been doing this for, unfortunately, a very long time. We're very experienced. We know who needs to be where and do what and the like. So to the residents of West Fargo, I want to assure them that we have great professionals that are ready and prepared and at whatever comes at us. I would encourage that the citizens that live along the Cheyenne River, with some of the issues that we had with sloughing and the like, and many of us, I used to be a resident, and I had a small berm, just to give me a little bit of freeboard, if you will. But I would encourage you to walk your riverbanks and to modify, continue to look at them and to see if there's any significant changes from a year ago to what you're experiencing right now, and then reach out to, what number do we want them to call? If there's issues with your riverbanks and stuff, just so we're in the know.
We have an email address as well, and I believe it's the.
If you'd share that with the public, please.
It's, the website, or the email is springmelt@westfargo.
Springmelt@westfargo.com.
Thanks, Dustin.
Springmelt@westfargo.com. And
What she said.
Yeah, I think communications is, I'm sure,
on top of that,
and we'll
that's on our website and all of that, so, but we'd encourage the public to be, have that great self-awareness of what your backyards look like. We're there to help. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, I just present this to you for your consideration for approval.
Okay, Mr. Freeman is asking us for an emergency declaration. I've reviewed it. It's a matter of procedure that we need to follow in case that we do have to incur some major expenses and the like, and this helps us prepare for those submittals to FEMA. So that being said, we are looking for a motion to approve the emergency declaration as presented by Mr. Freeman this evening.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the emergency declaration as presented by Mr. Freeman this evening. It is on page 139 of the packet if you'd like to view it. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you all. Item number 9 is to request to approve the tree planting contract for Cheyenne Street and be presented by Mr. Matt Andrick, Director of Public Works. It is on pages 140 to 156 in the packet. Mr. Andrick, welcome back.
Thank you, Commissioner President, Commissioners. Before I start on this, I should say one quick thing in the spring melt too that I forgot to mention. This is the 30th year that the diversion has been in use. So I think we wanted to point out that I guess 30 years of having pretty much decent protection for those city of West Fargo is something to celebrate, I would say. So with that, I'll get into the Cheyenne Street tree planting. This is to approve a contract for the Cheyenne Street tree planting. This project, similar to the one we had last year, where when they went through with the reconstruction, this kind of area was overlooked. When they went through and did that, they left it off the project. It was kind of identified in our CIP that we'd come back at some time and plant these trees from 32nd, on Cheyenne Street from 32nd Avenue to 40th Avenue South. It was identified in the CIP a few years ago for 2023. There would be about 139 trees to be planted on this project. It's a little too large for us to handle it in-house, as we did with the project last year. We put this out for an RFP. Green Earth LLC was the one who came out with a low bid. We did have 6 bid proposals from other contractors as well. In the CIP, it was estimated to cost $75,000. The bid from Green Earth was $60,815. This would, fall under the CIP, and the capital improvement sales tax would be funding this project. With that, I'll just ask to approve or award the contract to Green Earth LLC for the amount of $60,000 and 815. One note in my packet that was sent to you earlier, I had sent the wrong contract to Emily to add in there. I learned the lesson to not have so many files that have the same name on them. So I had accidentally sent the tree pruning contract over that you had already signed before. It has since been updated with the correct contract, and this contract has been approved or looked over by the city attorney as well.
Thank you, Mr. Andrick. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner George?
Just a quick question. Do you know, based on the depth of snow and length of time that the trees are being covered in snow, do you know if there's any risk to more damage to the trees or anything along those lines?
Not so much, for the length of time that it's been in the snow. It's more the weight, and if there's any, I guess, rodent damage, anything like that. As that, the snow gets higher, they can get higher up and start chewing on the branches or around the bark. But as far as the weight or the length of time, no, not as much.
Thank you.
Any additional? Please,
Mayor?
Commissioner.
Thank you. Matt, is this money in your budget right now?
This was not in the Public Works budget. This was set as a project in the CIP that was approved last year.
Okay, but, so the money's already been approved, you're saying?
No, it was, I guess, added into the CIP that was approved in 2022. It was just a project that was scheduled for 23 that we went and got the RFP, and then now we're asking for approval to use funds.
It's a line item, Commissioner Simmons, it's a line item in the CIP that we were made aware of projects that'll be forthcoming, but it is not in the Public Works budget. You are correct.
Okay, so where would we get this money from then, Mayor?
We'll call on Mr. Dustin Scott.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Simmons, in the 2022 capital improvement plan that was adopted last year, the source of funding that was identified is capital improvement sales tax. And so that's what we're proposing to continue with this project now, is fund it with capital improvement sales tax.
Okay, and with everything that's going on, do we know we have those funds in there?
Well, I can't speak to the exact balance right now in our capital improvement fund account, but I do believe that we could afford this project. I want to say there's, and again, on the spot, I can't list off a balance, but I know when the CIP was adopted last year, there was plenty of funding available for all of the 2023 projects that were identified. And I have no reason to believe that we've exceeded that dollar amount. But again, I don't have the specific funding reports at my fingertips here.
Okay, and I understand that, Dustin, that's not even logical for you to have that. My only point or my only concern is, and it's just not with this project, but honestly, it's with all the project moving forward this year, in reference to what you're about to show us at the end of this meeting, to make sure that we have enough money to cover everything.
We'll have a summary report on that coming forward relatively soon, Commissioner.
Okay.
I guess,
please,
Commissioner Simmons, onto your point there, I mean, that was one concern I had, not being able to, I guess, make sure that the funds were available for that. Had it been a larger dollar amount, than what I'm bringing forward with the $60,000, I probably maybe would have held off till we have a little bit more, I guess, definitive answer for you. But at this dollar amount, and like Dustin had said, as of last year, everything that we went through, there was funds available for the 2023, and like Dustin said, we didn't see that it had changed between then and now.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Any questions, additional questions, commissioners?
Make motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the tree planting contract for Cheyenne Street from 32nd to 40th Avenue to Green, I'm sorry, Matt, I didn't get the name of the company.
Green Earth LLC.
Green Earth for $60,800 and change. $60,800?
And 15, 815.
850, okay. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, please. Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Anvick. Item number 10 is the Improvement District 2270, a traffic signal at 9th Street West and 32nd Avenue West. Mr. Dan Hansen, City of Engineer for the City of West Fargo. And the actionable item that we have this evening is to accept the bid and award a contract. It's on pages 157 to 165 in your packet. Good evening, Mr. Hansen, and welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner, President Dardis, and Commissioners. Item number 10 is to accept the bids and award the contract for the installation of a signal at the intersection of 9th Street West and 32nd Avenue West. We had a virtual bid opening March 29th, and we had 3 proposals that were received. Strata Corporation is the lowest bidder for in the amount of $658,894.80 for this improvement district, and that is in line with what we had anticipated for project cost. This project was presented as using a combination of both CIP sales tax as well as special assessments. If you recall, we did a resolution of necessity and had the public hearing for that at that time. What this is here is just to award the project. This does not tie the city into anything as far as how it's going to get paid for, if there is. I know there was some discussion of specials versus sales tax versus other things. This is just to approve and award the work to the contractor to install the signal, as well as the geometric modifications of that intersection as we discussed prior. And with that, I would entertain any questions.
Questions for Mr. Hansen?
No question, just a comment.
Please.
When Mr. Hansen had presented this before, it was estimated at $860,000, and the bid is $200,000 less than what was anticipated. So I think that's a pretty good deal.
So does the strata bid include the geometry adjustments that have to be made at the intersection?
Yes, it does. And point of clarification on that, the estimated total cost of the project presented at previous commission meeting included the soft costs as well. This $658,894.80 is just the construction costs. So when you add back in the engineering, legal, and administration bond discount, and we also have a 10% contingencies in the total in the packet. You can see there's a breakdown of that. We're still anticipating that the total cost of the project be $863,000 with all of those things, but definitely we got a favorable bid that fit within what we were expecting to see, as Commissioner Olson said.
Very good. Any additional questions, Commissioner?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to accept the bid and award the contract to Strata Corporation for the dollar amount of $658,894.80 as presented this evening by City Engineer Dan Hansen. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Hansen. Item number 11 is the multi-use path from Eaglewood Park to the lights. Again, we call on Mr. Dan Hansen, our city engineer for the City of West Fargo, to present. The action item is the create a project number 6058 to approve the engineer's report and direct the engineer to prepare plans and specifications. It is on pages 166 to 172 in your packet. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you again, Commissioner President and Commissioners. This is a nice project to bring forward, the multi-use path from Eaglewood Park to the lights. This is a project that has been talked about for a number of years, and if you recall, we had submitted for funding for this project through the Federal Transportation Alternative, or the TA grants, through the North Dakota Department of Transportation. And we did receive a grant in the amount of 80% of the project construction costs. And so the estimated total of this project would be $400,000. This creates a path that goes through that park and also along the street to connect those two facilities. This is going to allow better transportation, walkability, all the things that we strive to do as a community to get people to gather and enjoy our facilities and have connectivity between them. So we're excited to say we had that grant, and we're just looking to approve that and then get approval to move forward with the preparation of plans and specifications. The intent is that we would design this project with our in-house staff and also manage the construction of the project with our in-house staff as well. So with that, I would entertain any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. Commissioners, questions for Mr. Hanson?
Great job on getting that grant.
Yeah, the funding would come from capital improvement sales tax for $72,000 is the city's obligation, whereas the federal TA grant is covering $320,000. So,
just a comment. Great job on getting that grant, guys. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I would make the motion to approve.
thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Anderson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the contract and award the bid to Strata Corporation for $658,894.80 as presented this evening by Mr. Hanson, City Engineer. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 12 is a proposed ordinance 1223 relating to setting the fees for garbage collection by resolution. Mr. Shockley.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President. As a way of background, the city has been going through a process of moving its ordinances on the Muni Code, which is a more accessible system. And as we've been going through, we've been doing some housekeeping items. And in the garbage collection ordinance, it specifically provides what the rates are, which when the city commission goes to change the rates, you have to have a first and second reading. And so it's our recommendation to change that you would set it by resolution rather than by ordinance. If you agree with the first reading tonight, then at the second reading, we'd also have a resolution for you to approve. Just, it's not increasing the rates, it's just adopting what they currently are. That'll allow you more flexibility during the budgeting cycle, or if you have to change the rates because the recycling company increases the rates or the tipping fees go up, or, you know, all the different things that can happen as part of your garbage rates. It just provides the city commission with more flexibility. Just want to reiterate, it is still, with the ordinance change, still entirely up to the commission to change the rates.
So this is the first reading?
Correct.
All right. So again, to the public, we're not raising your garbage rates. This is a modification to the language is all it is. Housekeeping. Commissioners?
Make motion to
Commissioner Simmons moves to approve the first reading of ordinance 1223 relating to setting the fees of garbage collection by resolution. I have a second by Commissioner Olson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. A reminder to the public, item 13 was pulled from the agenda this evening, so we move on to item 14. In the City of West Fargo Finance Department Support Agreement, Mr. Dustin Scott, Assistant City Administrator, pages 183 to 189 in your packet. Mr. Scott.
Good evening. Thank you, Commission President Dardis, members of the commission. In your packet is a contract with AE2S Nexus Group for financial services relating to the utility billing, general accounting, and also some help with our 2024 budget. The AE2S Nexus Group has been working with us over the past couple months on a few of these services, but this puts us in place to continue operating our finance department. As we all know, our finance director is, her last day is on Friday, so again, this will get us by for the interim until a new finance director is put in place. As you'll see in the contract, these are estimated costs, and so the work that we put in over the next several weeks is the work that we will pay for. If we need to stop any of these at any time, we will also stop paying at that time. So one thing to report on, one of these sections is utility billing. I would like to report that as of Friday, we did find somebody to come in and do the utility billing. They will start in 2 weeks. And so as you see in the contract, they're estimating 6 weeks. I anticipate that would be less, but again, there'll be some onboarding and some training and all that good stuff. So with that, I would stand for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Scott? We are looking for an actionable item to, that we approve this support agreement that we have with Nexus.
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the support agreement with Nexus Corporation as presented this evening. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Thank you.
Item number 15 is review the memo regarding the city administrator hiring options and approve a recommendation. We'll call on Mr. John Shockley, City Attorney for the City of West Fargo. Mr. Shockley.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President and members of the City Commission. Thank you for letting me assist you with this process. That's very important that we have a good process for hiring the city administrator. I view the city administrator position as like the person that's, the direct contact to the city commission, and very important that the city commission be comfortable with the hiring process that's utilized for that person. The memo, I believe, has been distributed to the city commission. It is available publicly if somebody were to request a copy of it. I'm just briefly going to go over the options I laid out in the memo, and then my recommendation about why the recommendation that I'm bringing forward. And so really the first option is to continue operations with the assistant city administrator and commence the search for the new city administrator. The action that the city commission took at last commission meeting allows the city administrator to operate the city from a legal perspective and sign all the documents, recognizing that it's important to the city commission and the public on how the city's being run. The assistant city administrator and myself have been meeting on a regular basis with the commission president and trying to keep all of the commission informed about any substantive actions that are ongoing. There's a lot of day-to-day activities that are pretty mundane that we're keeping up with. And there's really two options, with two parts of that option. The first one is that you could have the city's human resource department advertise to fill the position. I think that the The advantage to that would be that there is less expense to it. However, the disadvantage is that there may not be sufficient staffing within the HR department. And also, you may not have as broad of a net as you would with a search company that could search across the United States. West Fargo is a large community, has a large budget. I think that if you have a large net, you may have some really good candidates that are interested in a position. Oftentimes, these search firms have people that they know may be looking to advance, but aren't actively looking for it yet, and so they can reach out to them. I know from my personal experience that sometimes the firms will call me and just say, do you know anybody in the state, a couple states or the Midwest that is looking to maybe change their position? And so that's really what I call option 1B, which is to hire an external search firm to assist with the hiring of the new city administrator. There are several advantages to this process. The search consultant will come in, and usually the first thing they will do is assess the needs of what the commission is looking for and the needs of the staff. And I think in a situation in which you have just candidly, you have a resignation that was rather abrupt, you have an ability by a third party to really sit down and analyze what it is that you're looking for in that person to help lead the city and to provide that communications with the city commission. They can also help you design the hiring process. That way, if you want to have, depending upon the amount of staff input you might want to have, depending upon, do you want to have the person do like a mock presentation of emergency situation? Do you want to have them submit a writing sample? They can provide you some guidance on that. And it'd be far more cost effective than having me do it for you. And so that's part of their package. And then once they've gathered that data, they'll put together a package, and then they start putting that out on the market and advertising it. They advertise it all from the traditional advertising spots to calling out particular candidates that they will use. Fargo recently used Baker Tilly for its search. Moorhead has historically used Baker Tilly also. I have a lot of experience with Baker Tilly. They do a very good job when it comes to providing the city commission with different options and helping you through that process. I think candidly the other advantage of the process is it will provide some transparency to both the public and to the staff that you have a third party coming in that's helping with the hiring process. And they'll help you from sorting through the applications to developing that hiring process to narrowing down the finalists. I did want to note that under North Dakota's open records law, there was a recent change in which the candidates that apply, their applications are kept confidential until you narrow that down to your finalist. And so they'll help you through that process. They're very familiar with that process. The second major option would be to hire an interim city administrator. Really, after meeting with both the commission president and the assistant city administrator, one of the disadvantages to going through that process is right now we have some departments that don't currently have department heads. And so having an interim person come in may just add additional costs, and you're they're not able to lead a entity that has a lot of department heads in it right now. And so we felt that our recommendation would be kind of skip that step and go right to hiring a new person to fill that position. I also think that there's really two ways you can look at hiring an interim city administrator. I laid those out in the memo. And the first one is you can appoint a city employee as the interim city administrator. I tend to recommend against that because if you go ahead and hire a long-term person, if that interim city administrator doesn't get the job, then they have to potentially work for the person who got the job, and you may end up losing a valuable city employee in that process. It also makes your applicant pool who's applying for it think, well, that's the handpicked person, they already have an advantage in getting hired. The second option as part of hiring an interim city administrator is you could have a service. The services are out there that will provide you interim city administrator services. It helps with a short-term period, but once again, we don't have a lot of department heads to assist with that. It also adds some additional costs that, quite frankly, given the timing of when you'd be starting your city administrator search, I don't know if you really need to. It's always good to start your search just before summer, because if you find a candidate that has to transfer school districts, you can get them hired during the summer. They can perhaps start in the fall, get the kids enrolled in the new school district. And so really, my recommendation is that you would go straight to the process of hiring a new city administrator and use that third-party entity. What I would propose is that if the city commission is okay with that, then the commission president and myself could reach out to, we'd start first with Baker Tilly and see what their availability is and their costs, and then maybe reach out to a couple other companies. I did reach out to some of the local city and county administrators in the area. They're also willing to, like, if you wanted them to be part of the interview process, they're also willing to perhaps participate. Totally up to the city commission how you want to design that process. But I'm happy to answer any questions about it, and I've been through this process before several times, so kind of understand the ins and outs, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Commissioners, questions?
I do, Mayor.
Commissioner Simmons.
Well, first of all, John, no offense to you, but, you know, we're not kindergartners here, and I'm somewhat insulted. You know, I've been here 19 years. We've hired city administrators before. So it's not like we're starting from the beginning here. I mean, I think that I myself would like to slow down a little bit, let Dustin do his job, let the city calm down. I don't want to jump right out and rush into hiring a city administrator. I think we've got some time. I think Dustin's doing a great job. I think you'll all agree with that. My opinion, we just slow down a little bit and let things calm down.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Additional comments? Commissioner Olson.
Well, question for John. How long do you anticipate this to take, to go through a Baker Tilly and all that? Would it take 2 weeks? Would it take 3 months?
It's a 90-day process. I would envision, just as a timeline, that if the commission wanted to go forward with it, and I want to emphasize, this is totally a commission decision. This is not my decision. It would take about 2 weeks for the commission president and myself to come back with a recommendation of the company that you would hire. That company would then start probably in May, take the month of May to build that job description and what you want for a candidate. It'd probably take another month to advertise for that position, and then probably another month to go through the hiring process. And candidly, that person may not start until the August. So that gives you kind of a timeline. It's not, I mean, when we talk about quickly, it's relative in that it would be probably before the beginning of the next school year.
Additional questions? Commissioner George.
Just a comment, I guess my opinion, I
Please.
guess I would go off of Mr. Shockley's recommendation for 1B.
I just know that going through, we're hiring a new director for MetroCog, and we started the process back in late January, and we're just now wrapping it up. And we don't know when the new person could actually start yet. That could be, and our director is retiring as of April 30th, and it will be without one. So I think we need to, even though it sounds like we're moving quickly, but the whole process is a long, drawn-out process if we want to do it right.
And I did want to add there, with this process, and I don't want to put this assistant city administrator in an uncomfortable position, but anybody can apply for it. It's not limited to people that are outside, like any staff member could apply for it, the assistant city administrator could apply for it.
Additional commissioner comments?
I'll make the motion that we proceed by inquiring with Baker Tilly or similar outside source to start the process. I don't know what else we would need in the motion.
That should be sufficient, and then I would set up a time, a couple times when the commission president and myself could reach out to a couple different companies and try to get their proposals and bring them back to the city commission.
Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to move forward with the option as presented by Mr. Shockley of going to an outside service for the recruitment of a city administrator to go through the process. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes on a 4-1 vote. Item number 16. We call on Mr. Dustin Scott, Assistant City Administrator, for an Administrator's Report.
Good evening again, Commission President Dartis and Commissioners. Just to go back to the discussion of the storm, while we've been in session here, the school district has issued a notice that they are going remote learning for Tuesday and Wednesday. I believe Fargo is considering either a full cancellation or going remote learning as well. And to that point, I just want to let you know our process is typically we work with the police department, Public Works. Those are our eyes and ears out there, the boots on the ground. We take their consideration advice into consideration, and we'll certainly reach out to commissioners if we need to talk about closing our city offices. As of right now, we have no reason to do that, and as our Public Works Director alluded to, we haven't declared a snow emergency yet either. So, as Matt said, things change by the hour. So we will work to do our best to keep not only our staff, but our residents engaged. To that point also, Judge Barkus has asked that we cancel court for Wednesday. I agree with that. I just want to let the commission and the public know that is going to be the case. Melissa and her team will work on a public notice that will get sent out tomorrow, and by that time, who knows what other notices we'll be sending. So, aside from weather, one other update I'd like to provide is in regards to the RFP that we have out there for the P3 development that we are working on in conjunction with the school district down just west of the lights. That RFP has been out there for 2 weeks now. We've had a couple developers reach out. I know our planning director, Aaron Nelson, did meet with one of those potential proposers last week. So the good news is that we're getting some interest there. I believe the deadline is May, and so we'll be back here in the next month to month and a half with hopefully a final review of those proposals. So with that, I would open up for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Scott? Any correspondence for us, Mr. Scott?
Not that I have, nope.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any commissioner have any non-agenda items they want to bring forward? Any department head have any non-agenda items you'd like to bring forward this evening? Mr. Hanson, please.
Thank you, Commissioner, President Dartis, and Commissioners. If we could go back to item number 11, the multi-use path. When the motion was made, I had a moment of confusion. I just wanted to make sure if we could reread what the motion is to create the project number 6058, approve the engineer's report, and the direct engineer to prepare the plans and specifications, and make sure that's good with Commissioner Simmons' motion and Commissioner Anderson's second, please.
Commissioners?
Yeah, where was the confusion, Dan?
I believe that when actionable items were read, that the actionable items of item number 10 was actually read at the time of
Yes,
the vote?
yes, it was. You're right. I caught that too, and I thought that was right. So I'm agreeing. Yes.
Okay, I had a moment of confusion. I apologize, I should have spoke up when I
Nope.
was there, but I wanted to, I felt I was being confused at the moment, so I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that
no.
it's.
Commissioner Anderson, you did the second. Is that a friendly amendment that you approve?
Yes.
All right.
And the dollar amount was 400,000, not the 680, right? I think I
That was
heard-
just the estimate. What we're just doing tonight is just authorizing us to create the project and move forward with the plans and specs, so.
Total of 400,000, 72,000 from
Right.
sales tax. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. It's clarified.
Thank you so much.
Emily, would you please make sure that the minutes reflect that? Thank you. Does any other department head have anything? Commissioner Simmons,
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson,
Second.
we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen
Be
and ladies.
safe in the storm coming, everyone.
Enjoy it.